This guy has been convicted of lying on a federal ATF.
Dude, there's nothing. Dude, this is so funny. Yo, she's literally, you are nailing so many of your watchers right now. How you cannot lie on a federal form when purchasing a weapon.
There is breaking news at this hour. A guilty verdict in Hunter Biden's federal gun trial in Wilmington, Delaware. The president's son facing 3 felony counts, accused of lying on a federal drug use when he bought a gun in 2018, saying not a drug user, and prosecutors arguing he illegally had that gun for 11 days. After deliberating for about an hour on the first day, about
lock him up. Lock him up.
2 hours today, they have found him guilty on all 3 charges. Count 1, making a false statement in the purchase of a firearm. Guilty of count 2, making a false statement related to information required to be kept by a federal licensed firearms dealer. And guilty on count 3, possessing a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user or addicted to a controlled substance. So again, the breaking news at this hour, Hunter Biden found guilty on all 3 felony charges. Let's get right to Terry Moran outside the courthouse. Terry?
That's right, David. You've got it. All 3 counts, guilty as charged. About 3 hours of deliberation. 1 hour yesterday, 2 hours today. The jurors got to work, and they came through with this verdict. Each of these counts required the jurors to take into account what Hunter's defense was here, which was basically that while he had abused drugs, as he confessed in his memoir, Beautiful Things, as the jurors heard plenty of evidence about, at that time, Hunter Biden said he didn't testify, but his lawyer presented evidence that he did not feel that he was actually abusing drugs at that time and therefore was not guilty of these crimes. The jurors rejected that, guilty on all 3 counts. Hunter Biden arrived in court just before the jury was brought in and read the verdict.
Terry, let me ask you about the show of support in the front rows of that.
I think there's nothing funnier than this trial causing Republicans to be like, listen, if you're inebriated, you can't own a gun. Pussy. Federal gun laws are there for good reason. That's right. We need more gun control in this country. I've said this before, but Hunter Biden being prosecuted and being found guilty of a thing that like every Republican has done at a certain point. It might not be crack cocaine, okay? But certainly, like, certainly either shooting a gun or owning a gun, lying on forms when you are attempting to purchase a gun. Like, this is a staple of right-wing fundamentals. This is like, if he had also been found guilty of being like a deadbeat dad that doesn't pay child support, this would literally be like the most right-wing thing that you can get caught doing.
That courtroom, as we know, the First Lady, Jill Biden, they're supporting her son every day but one in this trial. Multiple members of the family and friends close to Hunter Biden, all there. We know in the closing arguments, the prosecution, well aware of that image right there in front of the jurors, saying of family members, the First Lady, the friends who had gathered, essentially, that does not matter here.
Biden made an abrupt visit to Delaware to hug Hunter. You can feel the emotion in this photo taken this afternoon. On a human level, the conviction is his only surviving son. Has to be gutting for Joe Biden. Jesus Christ. Aaron loves Brandon so much. It is like, oh my God, dude. You can feel the emotion. It's like, yeah, dude, he's a dad. Like, he probably doesn't love the idea that his son is going to go to jail. It's his turn, Hunter for president. I agree. I think Hunter Biden should run from prison.
That's exactly what they said, David. None of that matters. Pointing at the Biden family, at the First Lady, who was here almost every day, took a whirlwind trip to France to join the president for the D-Day commemorations, and came right back to be with her son. And
did he get convicted of doing drugs? No, he fucking wrote about it in his memoir. he wrote about doing drugs in his memoir while he simultaneously was like getting a gun and lied about it while getting a fucking gun. So, yeah. No shit. Now, let's be real. This would not be happening if Hunter Biden wasn't Joseph Robinette Biden's son, or if Joseph Robinette Biden hadn't been the president. Okay? Ultimately, though, lock him up, I say.
Yet it was part of the closing argument of prosecutors there. Prosecutors saying no one is above the law, no matter what their name is, no matter who is in court.
And Terry, the defense, Hunter Biden's defense team had tried to argue in closing arguments that the prosecution...
Yeah, there are also photos where he smokes crack and then flags people with a gun. So cool.
While they had ample evidence that Hunter Biden was a drug user, that the window of time...
Yeah, false statement in the purchase of a firearm, false statement related to the information required to be kept by federal firearms license dealer, count 3, possession of a firearm by a person who's an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance.
Directly surrounding the purchase of the gun, the defense had argued the prosecution had not made the case that he was using drugs in that, that window of time, that very small window of time, but apparently the jury didn't buy that.
They didn't buy it, and in part, David, because of the law that the judge read to them. The judge, as is customary, reads the jurors the law that they will apply to the facts that they heard in this case. And part of that law was that drug use for the purpose of this law did not have to occur on the day that Hunter Biden bought the weapon. And
I think there is no funnier karmic justice for a man who has literally done so much to, 1, criminalize drug addiction, and 2, create an infinitely worse penal punishment structure for specifically the American black and brown population than having your own only remaining son who hasn't fucking died go to prison for those two things being violated here. Okay? It's just like, I am a big Hunter Biden fan. As you guys know, he is a big hog. He wants strippers to unionize. He's being punished for those things, for the record. He's being punished for being awesome and having a big old dick. And also being Joe Biden's son. But, it is a little bit of a karmic justice there, isn't it?
And check that federal form, that it could be evidence of a pattern of drug abuse or drug addiction around that. And that certainly was clear in this case. So the defense was fighting an uphill battle, not only really against the facts, but against the law as the judge gave it to the jurors here. Now, I should say that in court, the defense, as is customary, right after the conviction was announced, renewed an appeal for an acquittal from the judge in order to preserve an appeal, and gave notice essentially that they will appeal this case.
So what happens now, Terry, legally to Hunter Biden?
This Free Hunter Biden walkout Friday, June 14th, 1:30 p.m. Spread the message. That's what happens to Hunter. We're doing a walkout, folks. The power move is Trump becoming president, then he pardons Hunter Biden. Yeah, that's not going to happen. He will definitely he'll throw fucking Joe Biden's bitch ass in prison too.
Sentencing next. And these are very serious federal crimes. These are crimes that carry very heavy prison sentences, 10 years each for the false statement and 5 years for the illegal possession of the weapon. Now, that is highly unlikely to be applied to Hunter Biden, anything like that in this case. Experts tell us that for a first offender like him, someone who did not use the gun at all, he just kind of bought it and stuck it in his car, there's no evidence that he was going to use it in any kind of a crime. It would be highly unlikely for Hunter Biden to see prison time. But these are, as I say, very serious charges.
No, lock him up. 25 years, baby. 25 fucking years, okay? He needs to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
It may well be that prosecutors will ask for some prison time, given the nature of the charges and given what others might face.
Back to you with this news.
Send his ass. Send his ass to Gitmo.
Still breaking, Hunter Biden found guilty on all charges in his federal case over misleading on a gun form. It's big news. It's big news for the man sitting in the Oval Office, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, his father. And with that, we'll bring in White House correspondent Jillian Turner. She's at the White House. What's happening there, Jillian?
Hi, Kaylee. Well, President Biden, as you mentioned,
Dude, this is so funny. They're literally doing the same thing that CNN and MSNBC was doing for the Trump trial. Bro, look at this. Yo, I love this country. We are so fucking stupid, bro. They are doing the exact same thing MSNBC was doing. Now, obviously, with like Trump, he was the former president. Like, with Hunter Biden, it's the president's son. It's a little different, but, you know, he's really about to go to prison for this shit. It'd be really funny if he did. Lock him up. That's what I say.
Is here at the White House. We are actually expecting to hear from him, see him publicly on camera at 1:30 when he is headlining a gun violence.
Dude, this is awesome. Like, pure resentment, pure party resentment is going to cause the motherfucking criminal justice system to start, like, addressing criminals on either side of the political spectrum for just pure resentment against the other side. Like, can you imagine we just start arresting CEOs and shit? When the Republicans are in power, Democrat CEOs go to jail. When Democrats are in power, Republican CEOs go to jail. Like, fuck. Don't threaten me with a good time, man. I'm fucking on board with this shit. From prison abolitionist to capital punishment in 1 week. It's funny that Biden spoke at a gun safety conference after the verdict. Yeah. I mean, Hunter is kind of harshing his vibes a little bit. His pappy's vibes. Like, dude. What the fuck? U.S. President Joe Biden just threatened his citizens with the use of F-15s.
They want to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about. Well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
U.S. President Joe Biden just threatened his citizens with the use of F-15s. I mean, he's right. Like, that's basically a meme. Maybe he didn't even do a good job of saying what he was trying to say, but he ain't wrong. You got F-15s? No? Then shut the fuck up about rising up against the tyrannical government, bitch. The government is tyrannical already, dumbass. Fuck you mean? Have you... I haven't seen your ass rising up. Can't even rise up against the top of the hour ad break. Which you don't need an F-15 for, to be fair. All you need is a $5 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. That's how you can rise up against the top of the hour ad break and defeat it. And no longer see those ads. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Prevention event, big event across
Park and watch.
town.
Thank you for the
So we
5.
are
Get the subs.
anticipating there is at least a chance he may address the verdict just handed down to his son. In the interim, we have a brand new statement issued by Ian Sams on behalf of the president himself. It said last week, "I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today." So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. As I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that. It's notable, Kaylee, that in one breath in this statement, the president says he respects essentially the outcome in this case and then mentions the fact that Hunter's team is considering an appeal. It's also interesting that they mention an appeal at all at this particular moment, given we have not heard that from Hunter's own defense team. So it would seem that the White House is the first to put out an official comment confirming that Hunter is at least considering appealing the decision here. We have heard from the president at a couple of key moments on his son in the past. You may remember very famously back in 2020, he told Peter Doocy that his son had done nothing wrong. We have heard a couple of times in the last few months from Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House press briefing that the president has no plans to pardon his son. Nobody at the White House has just commented on record as to whether or not the president may consider commuting his son's sentence, something that we are now sort of standing by to try and learn as quickly.
Yeah, the reason why this is pretty funny is because, but surely, Hasan, unlike Trump's situation, this can happen to anyone. This is an edge case, right? No, that's the funniest part. This literally could happen to many Republicans. So, like, many Republicans are not going to be running for president and simultaneously trying to pay hush money to a porn star that they had sex with, okay? Because they feel like the porn star is going to come out and it's going to hurt their chances of being elected. But almost every one of the Republicans celebrating this shit could also be swept away under identical terms. Like the Trump thing, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just in the way is bullshit. But for the Hunter Biden situation, the people, be careful what you wish for, man. You wouldn't want that shit coming after you, big dog. Oh my God, dude. American prison population would increase so dramatically. What were the charges? Lying on a fucking federal gun, lying on a gun purchasing form and being in possession of a weapon while being addicted to or using a substance that is illegal. Matt Gaetz agreed with you. The Hunter Biden gun conviction is kind of dumb, to be honest. Oh my God. But dude, Trump literally arred a woman, supposedly another one that was a minor at the time. Yeah, but those things are not prosecuted in this situation. Trump is not convicted or guilty of that, at least in a criminal court. That would be something that threatens Republicans in general and could happen to Republicans as well.
Quickly as possible here. So again, we're probably going to be hearing from the president in about an hour from now if he is running on schedule. He is going to be speaking here in D.C. at a national gun violence prevention event. We will be keeping a close eye on that to see whether he addresses this verdict himself. We also have the White House press briefing coming up at 2:30. We anticipate a lot of questions at the podium from Karine today about this verdict. Back to you, Kaylee.
Will the president commute Hunter's sentence? That is a great question for the White House briefing room. So we will see if it is asked. Judge, you mentioned, we heard appeal there, and Julian highlighted the president's mentioning appeal, but you note some of these grounds of appeal have already been tried and rejected.
Well, one of the things that Hunter did was in December of this year, his lawyers filed a motion arguing that the gun case charge should be dismissed because possession of a firearm by a controlled substance addict is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment, citing that 2022 Supreme Court case, which, of course, is the New York Bruin case. And the Third Circuit denied that. Now, whether or not the Supreme Court this year comes out and says, we're going to take a look at that and decide whether or not something is rooted in history and tradition, which is a basis to continue it as a constitutional right, it exists there. But as Jonathan Turley said, and I think that we need to remember this, because going forward, everyone's going to say the Supreme Court still hasn't ruled on whether a drug addict can have a gun. This guy has been convicted of lying on a federal ATF.
Dude, there's nothing. Dude, this is so funny. Yo, she's literally, you are nailing so many of your watchers right now. It's fucking nutty how you cannot lie on a federal form when purchasing a weapon. Yo, that's so sick. That's funny as fuck. It's like, dude, Republican being convicted under similar charges to be like, the communist Biden regime is coming after all of your weapons. They want to kill you. They want you unarmed, waiting with a butter knife to be raped by migrant roving bands of criminals. When it's Hunter Biden, they're like, yeah, we have to kill him. Capital punishment is the only way that this freak will make sure that he is not a harm to the broader public. He has lied one time. he can lie again. Last week, they were talking about our prisons obsolete. Last week, they were talking about Angela Davis ass shit. Like, oh, well, should we even? What are crimes anyway? What are crimes anyway, you know? Really? I'm asking seriously. Why could we limit the freedoms of a human being, another human being? Are we God? It goes against the very nature of man to be shackled in this way. We have to free everyone from prison. And now Hunter Biden, now it's the Hunter Biden trial. And they're like, we need to kill him.
Form. So whether or not the Supreme Court goes forward and says, you know, we're going to give everybody the right to have a gun, even a drug addict, which I find a little hard to buy right now, he still is different from the normal category of individual.
Yeah, the funny thing about what Judge Janine just said about SCOTUS isn't taking up the issue about whether a drug addict can own a gun. They are taking up the issue as to whether a convicted domestic abuser can. Yeah, that is currently something that the Supreme Court is looking at. And very likely their answer is going to be the Second Amendment is more powerful than restricting arms sales to convicted domestic abusers. And another funny aspect, I thought the judicial system was rigged. What happened? Well, sometimes it's good because it punishes our enemies.
So he is a convicted felon who has lied for that purpose.
You know, Kevin, we are less than 1 hour from President Biden giving remarks. Again, about an hour from when he learned his son is convicted. Take us, you've been in Biden world. What is happening now?
Well, certainly, I think the president is feeling the anguish right now of this decision, and we talked about this during the break. That this is a father that's worried about his son and relapsing, but he's also a president of the United States who has focused for a number of years, going back to his time in the Senate, on passing legislation that's going to stop gun violence in the streets, restrict the size of magazines, some of the assault weapons that are out there. So I think you can have two of these things be happening at the same time: a love of a father, a support of a father, a worry of a father. Hallie Biden threw out that gun not because she was worried about Hunter, using it in violence. She was worried about him taking his own life. And that now, there are more gun deaths by suicide in this country than.
Bro, these are my lines. I say these words, not you. You're Fox News. Hello? Excuse me? What is happening right now? Oh my God. I'm fucking losing my mind right now. What the fuck? Yo! We are a nation of laws and order, and we need gun control now. Gun violence is not simply a matter of violence that happens on the streets. Gun violence can also be accurately pointed to with our high suicide rate is not a thing that I would ever hear from anyone on Fox News. They stole my flow bar for bar. What the fuck is going on, dude? Maybe the MAGA conservatives are right, dude. They're woke. These guys are woke now.
Then by murder for the first time in a long time. So I think you can still see the White House talking about the scourge of gun violence now with this as the backdrop.
So, Kevin, how do you know that? Because when Hallie Biden both testified and the Washington Post did a really deep dive, she was looking for drug paraphernalia when she went through that truck. And she was shocked to find a gun and just knew it was trouble. And when you look at their text messages, she's not saying, I threw it away because I thought you'd kill yourself. She said, you need to get to rehab. And he said, this is not a game. Tell me where you hid it. And, of course, she'd taken it to a grocery store shopping center and put it in a trash bin. So I've not heard what you just said.
Wait, that's how she disposed of the gun? That's how she disposed of the gun? By putting it in a grocery store trash bin? Are you fucking insane? Bro, What the fuck is happening, dude? These people are crazy. Dude, Americans are so broken. I swear to gun. I swear to gun. Oh my God, I'm so American. I said, I swear to gun. Bro, this is not a fucking toy, okay? You can't just dispose of this by throwing it in the fucking trash, brother. What the fuck? Yo! That is crazy, bro. That is fucking crazy. I swear to gun. Free gun, baby. Widow of Beau Biden tells jurors in Hunter Biden's gun trial that she threw firearm in a trash can. The widow of Hunter Biden's brother has just told jurors in his federal gun charge about the moment she found the revolver in his truck. The purchase of the Colt revolver by Hunter Biden and Haley Biden's frenzied disposal of it are the fulcrum of the case against him. He's been charged with 3 felonies, lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, making a false claim on the application by saying he was not a drug user, and illegally having the gun for 11 days. Wait, didn't Hunter Biden smash his brother's widow? Yes, that's the godly thing to do. I don't understand why you guys are upset that Hunter Biden nutted inside of his fucking brother's widow, okay? His dead brother's wife. That is literally in the Bible, bro. That's not even a joke. That is straight up biblical shit, okay? That's in the Bible. I'm not even joking. That is unironically in the Bible. Yeah, Onan got, is it Onan? I forget what the dude's name is, but he got smited by God for not nutting in his dead brother's wife. Like, you can't even pull and pray. You can't even pull out. You have to nut inside of her. You have to fuck her, and you have to nut inside of your dead brother's wife, like straight up. God will punish you if you do not nut inside. You have to literally hold on for dear life. A lot of people dispose of guns that way. It seems pretty normal. Dude, this guy, I always look for this person's chats to come up with the absolute stupidest question. Okay? One of my favorite, low-key, one of my favorite chatters. A lot of people dispose of guns that way. It seems pretty normal as long as the gun has no ammo in it, Hasan. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? You could just go purchase ammo and now you have a fully loaded gun, free gun. What state are you talking about? Maybe California is different. How about, oh my God, of course you're in Ohio. Bro. This is worse than throwing it in the river, okay? Even that is a bad way to dispose of a gun. But I cannot believe I am now in favor of at least telling people to throw the gun in the river as opposed to putting it in the trash bin where someone can easily find it. Like, I never thought throwing a gun in the river would be a better way to dispose of a gun. What should you do if you have a gun you don't want? Take it to the fucking law enforcement authorities. What the fuck do you mean? How are you in possession of a gun you don't want? Take it to the fucking police, man. What are you doing? No, here's what you're supposed to do, okay? You see the serial number here? You just scratch it out, okay? You take one of those, like, you take a hard object and you scratch out the serial number, okay? Then you post it on the Facebook Marketplace. You post it on the Facebook Marketplace as, hey, I found this thing. I don't know if it's a toy or not. And if that doesn't work, you really trust the cops? What are you saying? This is one of the few instances where law enforcement is, yes, where you are supposed to take the weapon. What good is police? What the fuck? I'm from Ohio. This is not a good counter. Don't actually scratch out the serial number because you will go to jail for tampering with a firearm serial number. Yes, I'm obviously joking. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. If you find a gun, you have to call law enforcement and you have to tell them that you found a gun. Okay? What the fuck? What is happening, dude? Motherfuckers be like, wow, now you trust the police. What about, oh, wow, you mean to tell me that police have buyback plans where there's like gun buyback schemes where I could just like take the gun there and they give me money? I don't trust them. Why are we arming the police, Hasan? Take the gun to a gun store. They have many of them in Ohio. Yeah, Ohio is a PvP unlocked state, okay? Guns are free in rivers.
Ooh, looks like something on there, you guys. What we got here?
Magnet fishing.
Oh, no. No, 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 no. Oh, oh, yo. Yo, you guys.
That's a murder weapon. Bro is holding a murder weapon, okay? That is literally legendary pull. That is a murder weapon. You are in possession now of a murder weapon, okay? Oh my God. Oh my fucking God.
Just found a flipping gun. Oh my gosh.
Wait, someone actually found a gun? Then comes Edward Banner, an elderly dumpster diver rummaging through the shop's trash searching for recyclables. The 80-year-old Navy veteran stumbled upon Hunter's gun and took his discovery home with him. He reportedly stashed a revolver in a rolled-up sock tucked inside his General Motors lunchbox until a Delaware State Police lieutenant ultimately recovered it. And now you understand why you should not dispose of a weapon by throwing it in the trash. Oh my God, here's security video of Haley Biden returning to the store and frantically looking for the gun that's now gone. At this point, she filed a police report and Hunter was considered a victim of firearm theft. Oh my Lord, what are they doing? Oh, Mr. Everard is helping me find my gun. Oh, shit. Pictures and videos of Hunter Biden smoking crack while nude were among the visuals prosecutors presented to the jury on a projector screen. Oops. Hunter's ex-lover, Zoe Keston, an online cam girl who goes by the social media moniker Weed Slut 420, testified against him. The two met when she performed a private session for him at New York's #1 strip club, the Vivid Cabaret. Here they are bathing together. The prosecution showed pictures of Hunter, Biden's ex-girlfriend Zoe Keston, took him of smoking crack while the two were on a luxury spending spree, lighting up in high-end hotels across Los Angeles and New York. On the witness stand, Keston explained that a chore boy, a scouring pad that filters a crack pipe, can be seen in the background, as well as the chopsticks, which are used to scrape out the remaining residue. He's so fucking cool, dude. I mean, dude, look at this. And his fingernails are painted. What? The wrong kid died? What are you talking about, dude? Hunter Biden is the fucking man. I believe you see two bad bitches. That's crack residue? Dude, Hunter Biden is so fucking cool. Look at the fucking bender he went on. Holy shit. Choice. Salsa con queso, Tostitos. That's good dip. I fucking love that cheese dip shit, dude. Look at this. I can be sober, but I'll always be an addict, Hunter Biden texted Zoe Keston. The defense claims that this text sounds like a step in Alcoholics Anonymous type recovery program and not an admission of guilt. Hunter's legal team is relying on the argument that he didn't knowingly lie in the federal form. He truly believed he was sober at the time of the gun sale. Oh my God. He's wearing an Adidas Addicted shirt. God, he's so fucking dope. The prosecution played portions of Hunter Biden's audiobook narration of his memoir, Beautiful Things. In court, Hunter heard himself admit he bought crack cocaine on the streets of the nation's capital and embarked on a cross-country crack-fueled odyssey, smoking crack every hour of the day with his around-the-clock use of crack, sometimes shortening to as often as every 15 minutes. I was doing nothing but drinking and drugging, Hunter wrote. We got to listen to this.
Where's Hunter? As I began writing this book from the relative calm of my home office in November 2019, then there is this. I'm also an alcoholic and a drug addict. I've bought crack cocaine on the streets of Washington, D.C., and cooked up my own inside a hotel bungalow in Los Angeles. I've been so desperate for a drink that I couldn't make the one-block walk between a liquor store and my apartment without uncapping the bottle to take a swig. In the last 5 years alone, my 2 decades-long marriage has dissolved. Guns have been put in my face, and at one point, I dropped clean off the grid, living in $59 a night Super 8 motels off I-95 while scaring my family even more than myself. Chapter 8. Into the Desert. In October 2016, I set out on a crack-fueled cross-country odyssey. That wasn't my...
Bro, you cannot arrest this man. You cannot prosecute this man. He's so sick.
My plan. The plan was to get well. Until a couple of months earlier, I'd limited my crack use to once every 3 days. I believed I could quit it on my own, whenever I wanted, before it devolved into a full-time disorder. I was driving back and forth between D.C. and Delaware to see Hallie and her kids, our relationship still just a shared grief oasis, and tried to keep my drug use hidden. But I also was traveling for work constantly, mostly to generate new clients and trying to keep existing ones. My drug use accelerated in tandem with my stress. Smoking crack cocaine every 3 days soon became smoking every 2 days, then every other day, then every hour of every day. While still fairly new to the around-the-clock use of crack and still learning how to be a functional abuser at that enhanced scale of addiction, still learning how to excuse myself in the middle of meetings every 20 or 30 minutes to light up in the men's room, I knew I needed to do something before it spun out of control. At least that's what I told myself. My first call off the plane was to a drug connection. I took an Uber to my car, which I'd stored in the garage of someone who managed a place I had stayed at. Side note, this being an LA friend at that time, he had tried to sell the car. I went straight from there to pick up some crack. The next month and a half is a drug-befuddled blur. That's not a dodge or a lapse in memory. Everything that followed my return to LA was a genuine dictionary definition blur of complete and utter debauchery. I was doing nothing but drinking and drugging.
Among Hunter Biden's texts with drug dealers that the prosecution pulled for presentation to the jury, he told Haley Biden that he was with Bernard, who hangs at 7-Eleven, and waiting behind the Wilmington Blue Rock Stadium for a drug dealer named Mookie the day he acquired the gun. I was sleeping on a car smoking crack at a street corner in downtown Wilmington, Hunter texted the next day. Bank statements show that more than $150,000 in cash was withdrawn from Hunter Biden's assortment of accounts over a 3-month period around the time he purchased the gun. What the fuck? Dude, that is so much cocaine. That is so... Oh my God. There's no way that's just for drugs, right? That's like... Holy fuck, that's so much crack you can make out of that cocaine. He was doing... How is he not dead? Hunter's ex, Zoe Keston, testified that a good amount of the cash was spent on buying drugs. She said that Hunter had her withdraw cash on his behalf, and he remotely requested a temporary PIN code that allowed anyone access to his account, even drug dealers themselves. Some of the accounts accessed for cash include Owasco LLC, Owasco PC. In a separate tax evasion case, Hunter is accused of using Owasco PC to evade taxes, specifically that he subverted the payroll tax and withholding process of his own company by withdrawing millions from the corporate account outside of his typical payroll and tax withholding process. During the rebuttal today, the prosecution entered into evidence Hunter Biden's mid-October 2018 text with more presumed drug dealers named Junior and Q. His go-to meetings was the 7-Eleven at the intersection of Green Hill and Lancaster Ave. For those of you who want to buy crack, that's where you get it. If that sounds familiar, Hunter had told Haley Biden he was with Bernard, who hangs at 7-Eleven. Is this Hunter is the one doing corruption in Ukraine? Yeah, even on that front, he was like awesome. His corruption in Ukraine was just like lying to a corrupt gas company in Ukraine that he had access to the vice president when he clearly didn't, and said that giving him hundreds of thousands of dollars for lobbying would open up doors for them in Washington, D.C., which it did not. So... yeah, he got Burisma to fucking hire a crackhead. Cokehead presidential son or crackhead presidential son? Crackhead. Don't rich people have fancy drug dealers? Why go to 7-Eleven? Because he was addicted, bro. He wasn't like a weekend warrior doing coke every now and then. He was doing crack. At that point, it's like you need a lot of quantities. You are doing a lot of it. He was baking his own crack, man. He was cooking up in the LA crack motels. Wow. The proletarian choice of drug. Make sure we talk about Joe Biden's stance on crack. Oh, yeah, here. Let's hear what Joe Brandon had to say about this.
Entitled to engage in such statements, but let's look at the facts. Since 1986, Congress has passed over 230 new or expanded penalties for drug and criminal offenses in this United States. 230 new penalties. And these penalties range from an automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine, a piece of crack cocaine as small as a quarter. I don't have a quarter with me, but if you visualize what one looks like, yeah, I do have a quarter. If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that said...
Senator Strom Thurmond, by the way, like he co-authored this with, you know, a segregationist. Just pointing to that real quick. You know, just so you understand.
As if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Now, the fact of the matter is, we've gone from there all the way up to saying, under the leadership of Senator Thurmond, and I'd like to suggest that I take some small credit for it myself as well, and others, the presiding officer, that there is now a death penalty. And we passed it a couple years ago.
That's right. Kill Hunter Biden. Throw the book at him. He's a super predator.
If you are a major drug dealer involved in the trafficking of drugs and murder results in your activities, you go to death. And
that's cool, man. To be fair, that was a bill that he wrote to systematically target African Americans during the war on drugs, not for Hunter. Oh, shit, you're right. You're right. That's correct. Bro, Hunter made crack, so when are we killing him? That's what I'm saying, dude. What's happening?
About the concern that Hunter might kill himself. I can tell you that it led to a problem with crime.
Certainly.
And maybe she had seen that forecast, but she was...
That's awesome. They're talking about an unlawful disposal of a firearm as like additional crimes, which it is. But once again, shocking to me that this kind of commentary about responsible gun ownership is coming from Fox News.
Was digging hard through that truck for drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's how she found the gun in the first place. I'm sure, and I've seen interviews that Hallie has given about the mental state of Hunter at the time, and her worry that he might use that gun on himself or some self-inflicted situation with that firearm.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Judge Jeanine Pirro, Richard Fowler, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. And we have brand new images of President Biden from just moments ago, embracing his now convicted son, Hunter. The president...
They deserve it. This is a moment where Republicans get to celebrate, okay? They're posterizing this. This is the reverse side of the Aaron Rupar sentiment that we watched earlier. Oh, it's so good.
Blowing up his entire schedule, rushing back to Delaware to be with him. Hunter Biden found guilty on all 3 counts in his gun trial. The verdict still sending shockwaves throughout the White House, with Karine Jean-Pierre even canceling today's press brief. That's something she rarely does. Hunter is now facing up to 25 years in prison, but it is unlikely that he will get the maximum since it is his first offense. And it all happened so fast this morning, as Judge Jeanine will tell you. And the First Lady, Jill Biden, she was not even physically in the court yet to hear it being read aloud. She arrived just afterwards. President Biden says he will respect his son's conviction. But talk about irony. After the trial revealed that Hunter's revolver was dumped into a trash can, the president spoke at a gun violence prevention summit where he called for harsher gun control laws and for Americans to safely store their firearms.
By the way, it's time we establish universal background checks and require the safe storage of firearms. We should hold families responsible if they don't provide those locks on those guns. Who in God's name needs a magazine which can hold 200 shells? If you need 12 to 100 bullets in a gun, in a magazine, you're the lousiest shot I've ever heard. And by the way, if they want to think to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
So one of the Hunter Biden jurors speaking out about the historic deliberations, he says the Biden name did not play a role.
Biden was on trial. And he was just like anybody else, you know. Nobody's above the law, you know, no matter who you are. And so that did not play a factor in my decision. It was not politically motivated. If you want to know that, politics played no part in this whatsoever.
Right, Jesse, we have not heard from you today. I'd love to get your thoughts as to what happened.
Well, it gave me a little boost of confidence in the American.
Wait, why is this news? Come on, bro. The president's son getting fucking convicted on gun charges? Like, that's newsworthy. It would be newsworthy if it was Trump. It'd be newsworthy across the board. It's newsworthy now. That much I understand. Like, it's very funny also. No, I meant the jurors saying they weren't biased. Like, okay, what should be the... Well, I guess the reason why they're saying that is because I'm sure they'll answer it. I'm sure they'll talk about how, like, but in the Trump case, they were being partial.
Legal system, although they still have a lot of work to do to win me back. Oh. It's kind of like watching an Eagles game and the refs throw 20 flags on us in the first half and then finally throw 1 flag on the other team.
Oh, he's an Eagles fan too. Of course he's an Eagles fan. Oh my God, you fucking horse manure devourer, you. Oh my God, classic, bro.
It's still not a fair game. Remember, Biden's prosecutors tried to sweep this under the rug last year and have this guy not go to jail at all and have lifetime immunity until the judge was like, say what? And now he might have to serve some prison. He might have to actually serve prison on this and the taxes. He should have listened to Nancy Reagan. She said, say no to drugs. And a lot of these foreigners targeted Hunter Biden, not just because he was the son of the president, but because he was a crackhead. And he's been compromised by the Chinese, the Russians, the Romanians, the Mexicans. Pretty much everybody wanted a piece. And because he was an addict, he was willing to take risks and do.
Yes, by the way, this is a federal gun case, so Biden could technically pardon him, which I doubt he will do. Actually, you know what? That'd be kind of cool if he did. He'd be like, yeah, guess what, bitch? I'm above the law. I am the law. I'm putting my opposition in jail and I'm taking my crackhead son out.
Things you wouldn't normally do because he needed the money for the family, but he also needed money for his habit. And he lived in a world of spies, suspicious wires, sex trafficking, diamonds, burner phones, wiretaps. This guy was on like an 8-year heater. Lucky he didn't kill himself. Lucky he didn't have the gun picked up by a kid who shot himself.
Wait, now they're fucking worried about guns? I thought guns don't kill people. People kill people. Wait, what? Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. I know I've heard their fucking asses talk about how guns on their own are perfectly fine.
Lucky the gun wasn't taken by a criminal and used in a murder and had the gun go back to him. But for a long time, Dana, this guy, it was like an orgy of opportunists. He was using his dad. His dad was using him. The Chinese were using him. He was using the Chinese. And the CIA and the FBI were using him to spy on the Chinese. And he's never had any consequences his whole life. If you look back at the naval discharge, that was not a dishonorable discharge. That was an administrative discharge. He got popped again for cocaine in Stone Harbor, New Jersey. That got swept under the rug. The Sugar Brother rolls around. All of a sudden, people are interested in his art. So this is the first time he's actually had to pay the consequences, and this could not come at a worse time. Joe Biden's poll numbers are terrible. He's freezing up at Juneteenth parties. Trump's outraising him. The Sugar Brothers tapped out. He's never even seen Navy, his daughter. So happy Father's Day, Hunter Biden. This is what happens when you raise a son like this.
Wait, dude, you can't be coming at him for being a deadbeat dad too, bro. You're literally just shitting. What's next? Are you going to fucking talk about his tax evasion? This is like the Republican triple Monty, okay? Tax evasion, lying to fucking purchase a firearm, and being a deadbeat dad is literally... That is the Republican trifecta. There is going to be a certain point where the watchers of the five are going to be like, hold up, is he talking shit about me? What's going on?
You have to raise virtuous young men, or else they're going to come back and bite you. That is the lesson here.
Judge, do you think he'll do jail time?
You know, under the federal guidelines, there's no requirement that that the judge impose jail time. But of course, it's up to the judge. I think the judge will take into consideration that in a case that was as direct and as clear as this was, that he could have taken responsibility, showed remorse, and pled guilty. And he would have gotten, in the sentencing guidelines, the way the feds do it, he could have gotten an extra 2 points for doing that. I'm not suggesting he's being punished for going to trial, but he could have received a benefit. But I think that this was a lesson in a couple of things. I think it was a lesson to Abby Lowell, who's an excellent attorney, and all of us have said that at this table, who so overplayed his hand that the jury was insulted. That, you know, for the first time we heard, well, maybe he was really an alcohol addict, you know, that it maybe not a crack addict. And maybe that text to Mookie was all about his meeting another girl and not a druggie to buy some more crack cocaine. And maybe he was at that 7-Eleven to buy coffee and a donut. And, you know, maybe he really didn't know that he was an addict. And yet the curious thing is that Hunter, in the statement that he issued after his conviction, he says recovery is possible by the grace of God. I'm blessed to experience.
Yeah, I love that the attorney that goes after Hunter Biden is an excellent attorney, and the attorney that goes after Trump is a political hack, obviously. Yeah, duh, because one is doing justice. The other one's going after a loud and proud American for loving America too hard. Yeah.
It's that gift one day at a time, essentially admitting that he's an addict. And as Zoe, the girlfriend, said, he knew that once you're an addict, whether you're sober, he's an addict. I think
it's odd for Janine Perot to just be fucking talking about addiction, okay? I'm just saying, like, this person, this is probably one of the few sober moments that she's ever appeared on air. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
that Joe giving a statement early on, right after the conviction, kind of saved him from having to address it at this speech this afternoon and this this gun event. But there were certain things that were so hypocritical. His saying we've got to keep guns out of the dangerous hands. Well, your son had it in a in a car, and his girlfriend dumped it out in a garbage can a block from a school. And he says that we have to make sure that gun storage is a priority. You know, this is a family in hypocrisy. On the one hand, they show this united front in the courthouse every day. and even starting with jury selection. You know, we're a family that's joined together to support Hunter, and yet they were a dysfunctional family at best, given the fact that so many of the women were affected by what Hunter did. And in the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family. And they recognized that this was a clear-cut case and that clearly no one's above the law.
Yes. Greg,
yeah.
give you the floor.
Well, first, I just wanted to talk about that moment where Joe claims you don't need a rifle because we got F-15s. It's like, that's not the first or second time he said this, which is proof either that no one has told him it's a bad idea to boast that you can bomb Americans, or they did it and he doesn't retain that information. You know, but he says, we got F-15s, you don't need a rifle. It's not about need. It's about rights, the rights to self-defense. You know, and maybe built into that, there's a time that you have to go up against a corrupt guy.
I just don't understand it. Like, I don't think Greg Buttfeld is like a gun guy. You know what I mean? This is one of those things where I don't think any of these guys are gun guys. They live in New York or Connecticut and fly into New York or drive into New York to fucking film their Fox 5. Like, they're not gun guys at all. It's just like, I'm more of a fucking gun guy than Buttfeld.
Government, or in his word, a government that's out of line. But this is the same people that smear Trump as authoritarian. Trump has never boasted about, I can bomb you, to Americans. And remember, these are the guys that called January 6th an insurrection. All right. And now they're just saying, you guys have rifles. You mean nothing to us. This guy shouldn't be president of the Taylor Swift fan club. My sense is that Hunter's going to jail, so Joe doesn't have to.
Trump literally sent federal agents to assassinate someone and then flexed about how he sent the marshals to assassinate someone. Like, that was what he did.
Disarming a sober citizen based exclusively on past drug use. And that is unjust based on the Second Amendment because there is nothing in there about that. So that's my thought.
Okay, Richard, final word?
For sure. So last week, I participated in jury duty for 2 days while we were going through the selection process. And, you know...
You got rejected?
I sure did. But what I learned and the people that I met there were regular people who...
This is the new liberal on the panel, huh?
Who had to take the day off from work or 2 days off from work in my case, and the people who were in my voir dire process's case. And they really were committed to this process. They answered the questions fairly, they answered them honestly. And so this is just to Jesse's point, like, you have more confidence in the system today. I was reassured that the system worked, and the idea that you could have a rigged jury was almost practically impossible. There were 60 of us that were part of this process. And so what you saw today were 12 people, and you saw one of those jurors speak out, and you have 12 people who come to make a decision, as the judge said, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and they're trying to get it right. And so anybody who disparages everyday citizens who go down and do this process, somebody who participated in it, don't do that, because these are everyday Americans who are participating in their responsibility as a voter and as a citizen. And so they made the right decision here because that's what they're supposed to do. And now we're going to have to see what happens. Barring an appeal, it's very likely that he will have some sort of punishment. And I think it's important to remember that he is not, like I said yesterday, he's not running for office. He's not hired in any part of the Biden administration or at the DNC or at the Biden campaign. And now this is a family that's going to have to deal with.
Our first